they went in and just made their own prezzies. I didn't even know. I just kind of let them do whatever they wanted to show me. They could do a play, they could write a song, they could do anything technological. And they were inspired by my prezzi, so they went in and actually made their own prezzi, which I was blown away by. So,
without teaching, I
without
find prezzi's hard for me. So I'm very impressed.
I was so impressed, and she didn't even use a template. She did her own thing, and she just went and did it. And then the kids got inspired to do that, and it just takes off from there.
Yeah, very nice. Jill, kind of going around. So, I think Jill's there, but we can't hear you, Jill. We'll come back to you, Jill, when you get your microphone working. And we don't see you either, but we see your icon, so I know you're there. So let's move on, and then we'll come back to Jill. Laura?
Well, I'm already a project-based class, so I haven't really used a lot of technology. I use rubrics and things to do my grading right now, and do I differentiate? Absolutely. I have special needs kids in my classes. I have checklists, things like that. So I think when I was showing like the infographic thing on my things that I could start incorporating, and then it would be differentiated from there.
That's good. Technology is really powerful for differentiating because everyone has all those tools right there, so they can pick the one, audio, visual, whatever it is, so that's a good way to do it, Laura. Let's see, who's next? Megan?
I don't do a lot in terms of assessment with the pre-K through 2, but I agree with Andy as far as giving them choices and letting them choose what fits their learning styles. Using GarageBand if it's their musical, creating a Glogster. I think choice is huge.
Yeah. Can you give me an example, maybe, of one you did?
As I've said before, I haven't had too much access with computers in where I am now, so I'm just going to be getting into it in the coming year. I just have my smartboard, so.
Yeah, that's all right. So this will be good for you. Melanie?
Hi. One example, I do use projects like a lot of other people said, but one specific example I thought I would use is we use Reading Street, the Pearson website, and the kids every week have to take a reading test, and the test is online. So it's on their tablets. So each kid has a tablet in my class. So a lot of kids are able to log on and get on no problems. But a lot of the struggling readers sometimes need more of a visual, especially when it comes to the comprehension section where they have to read a story. So for those kids that need extra help, I usually make a copy of the story just on paper so that they could refer back to it when they're answering their questions. And then I also have a good handful of kids that are either ELL learners or have an IEP, and they'll go with an aide or another teacher and kind of do it in a smaller group setting. So that's kind of a little way that I differentiate, just taking a basic test on the tablet,
That's good.
Yeah.
Easy Street has that test?
It's Reading Street, yeah. We have a weekly test, so they have to take one every single week.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I can't bring up. Oh, Melissa. Yeah.
Hey. This is a hard question for me. I'm listening. First of all, I'm very distracted by all the things that are going on my screen and who is who. So I sometimes find myself wandering off, wondering I wonder what this button would do. But it's hard because I teach 4th grade, 33 kids in my classroom, every subject, all day. But assessments are hard for me because I guess differentiating the difference between a project and an assessment, they could be viewed as the same thing or something very different. My district, we have on our report cards, 50% of our grade is supposed to be assessments, 40% is classwork, projects, and 10% homework. So it really does. A project to me can be, and I have my teacher judgment where I place that in my grade book. but it can be tricky because to me I think of a test as more a they're not using any what they have learned, not using resources, which to me I think we're moving away from that. Education is looking at tests differently, but the report card hasn't changed enough to, and it's tricky for me. And I get frustrated, I think, easily because I want things to move faster than what they are, and I get frustrated in the double, I guess, standard of what I am supposed to print out at the end of a trimester or year and what I actually want to do in my classroom. The other trick is having the technology available, and not just having it available, but for me to have the time to figure out how to make it usable and real and valuable to the kids. So how do I make an assessment that's technology-based, that's a good one, not just to say, oh yeah, I did it. One of the things, I do love project-based. I'm trying to think some of the things we do. Current events, and it's a combination of online because most of them get their articles online. News Ella, I think it's News ELA. I love.
Yeah.
It's very good. But then we have it paper pencil as far as them writing a little bit about it, and then they get in groups and discuss it and ask each other questions about it, which is great. So it's a combination of. But I wouldn't call that an assessment. I would call it assignment.
What do you guys think? Keeping in mind that effort and failure are valid assessment tools. What do you think about helping her out? Any thoughts on that? Because I would think that you could do formative assessments of them doing their writing, reading the article, drawing conclusions, whether they're right or wrong. They understood the directions, they followed through. So to me, that's a valid formative assessment and when your school bases 50% off assessment, do they mean only summative or do they mean formative and summative?
Summative, I think, is pretty much, but you know, I'm not a good politician. That would be terrible because I like to ask a lot of questions and I like to be direct, and it frustrates people because they really just want me to figure it out, and whatever I decide I think really would be fine with them as long as no parents complained, and I kept my mouth shut and didn't share what I was doing with a lot of people that stirred the pot. So I think I could fudge it, really, but I love that discussion too. I like to talk to people about it. What are their ideas about it? How should I do it? And is this the right way? And that doesn't go very well if you do that with the wrong people. So
what are some ideas? Anyone have thoughts for her? What do you do in your school?
I have a question about the summative evaluations for your grade. Do you have to give specific tests like everybody else in the 4th grade, or do you do your own?
A combination. We have mostly they're my own, and that's where I think with Common Core so much has changed too. We don't have, I'm in California, and we don't have
so to me, it's a valid formative assessment and when your school bases 50% off assessment, do they? Oh, someone's listening. I think that's someone has their formative and summative playing in the background.
I think is pretty much, but you know, I'm not a good politician. Because I like to ask a lot of questions.
They're playing our video. I think, is that, who just joined us?
Debbie.
Debbie.
Debbie, do you have a tape on? One of the webinars on? Or do you have this playing?
I might. Okay. I think I'm good.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. So I forgot what we were talking about. We had a question on the table. So what do you think, Melissa?
What it was, I don't know the person's name. What was her question? Something about assessments.
I just was asking if you had to share the same assessment with your other colleagues, or if you were on your own. So
I think Technically, no, but realistically, at the school that I was at last year, there was 4 fourth-grade teachers. And if you don't do something similar as the other ones, you'll have a parent riot because they talk. Why is this teacher doing one thing and another teacher not? Why is this teacher giving this test and my child didn't? And so we were very close, and we did the same assessments. But did it come down from higher up? No, but the other trick is our grades are posted real time for parents to see. And if you don't have enough test scores or project scores, it skews everything. So it's really, I find it complicated for 9-year-olds. You know, if I were teaching a high school or college course, might be, imagine, a little different, but I'm dealing with little kids, but a very grown-up way of judging them.
I agree. I teach 2nd grade, and it's hard to balance what the district wants you to do in your assessments and then what you feel is right in your own classroom with your students and how you want to adapt things and change things, because I have the same thing. I teach 2nd grade, and we're told what assessments to give, and we have to have a certain number on our Power School grade book for every quarter and things like that. So I agree, it's hard. It's hard to balance what you think is right and what the district is telling you you also have to do.
Yeah, and the A, you know, and it's very, I teach in a very middle class neighborhood, and educated parents, and an A is very important to them. And a C, oh my gosh, some parents, C is just the end of the world. Like, how could they do that, and what can we do to improve that? And I find, to me, as a parent and an educator, an A, a B, a C, I really don't love letter grades, but that's what I'm stuck with. So it's all really tricky and a work in progress. And yeah.
Okay, Nate, what do you think? Do you remember our question?
Oh, well, yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be really hard to follow that.
No, that was very good.
I try to differentiate as much as possible. I mean, as much as I can. I think I talked about a couple weeks ago, I used Moodles a lot for a lot of my technology differentiation. But another thing that I try to do a lot, like Andy was saying, is I try to do projects, and like one specific project I do that I think is a pretty good differentiation is I have kids get into groups and research the periodic families. I teach chemistry, for those of you that forgot. But they research the periodic families, and then they're supposed to put a skit together, and the skit can incorporate like anything they want, basically. They just have to kind of explain the periodic families to the rest of their classmates relating to anything they want. Like, they can relate it to basketball, and they can like relate the different elements to different players on a basketball team, or they can, you know, do, I mean, I've had, they can do superheroes. I've had so many different kids do so many different things, and I think that's really cool because like they can either present it to the class, or they can make a video. I let them choose that too.
That's good.
And yeah, and most of the time they do a video because I don't know, kids hate getting in front of classes.
Yeah.
But like they will either use their cell phones and record themselves, or they will use their Chromebooks and use the webcam on their Chromebooks, and it's really cool because I can see their creativity come through, and it really helps as well because they have to figure out a way to relate this topic that they have to different elements on the periodic table, and that's kind of a cool thing, I think. But that, I mean, that's one of the things I do, and I try to do as many projects as I can. I do a lot of group work in the back with, you know, computer stuff and things like that. And
I like the option to videotape or present live. I think that's a great option for kids, anyone under college.
And if you think about it, the video, a lot of times there's a lot more involved in that with the editing and different things.
Yeah.
It's more than getting up and presenting.
That is true. I definitely have a lot of questions during that project. Oh, Mr. Roth, this isn't working, and what do I do? And a lot of times I'm like, crap, I don't know, man.
A chance to be risk takers.
Yeah, exactly.
So who'd we miss? Debbie, did we miss you?
Yes, yes. Sorry, I'm late. Had a hard time getting in.
So we're on the first question.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of piggyback a little bit on what Nate was just talking about. This semester, I taught a STEM. We had 7th and 8th graders come up to the high school and a STEM academy this year, and I taught a cultivating our creative selves course. And this last project, one of the last projects we did was an invention convention. So the students had to come up with an invention that solved, some problem or issue in their life. And so not only did they create the invention and work through it and whatnot, but they had to create an infomercial to promote the invention. Gave them the opportunity. They could, do the infomercial live in front of the class, or they could create a video. And so some chose to do it live, some chose to. Interesting. It was fun. It was fun
I like that
creativity.
But that's not all.
Okay. One more. Jill, are you there yet? I see your little picture there, but can you hear us? Not yet. Is your microphone muted?
She's come and gone like 15 times.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's.
So it sounds like a connection problem.
Yeah.
Maybe she has her video on off too. Maybe she didn't check it at the top. Maybe it's still
Exactly.
off.
So we will come back to you, Jill, if you hear me. But let's go on to question 2 then. We won't get through all the questions, and I that's fine. We have a nice group, and I like the conversation, the sharing. So so you all tried different web tools. So let's just discuss the web tools you tried and what you thought of it, how it would apply to your class. Give it just a couple minutes. No need to get really detailed. But then if you have questions about something someone brings up, feel free when they're done presenting to ask your questions of them, of their tool. Some of you used the same tool. A lot of you used real different tools. So it should be a fun discussion. Anyone want to start, or shall we start with Nate?
I'll start. I tried ThingLink, and I actually had a ThingLink account. I've had one for about a year, but I never actually used it. So this was a good opportunity for me to try it out. So I created a computer terms. I found a computer image with all different computer parts, and then I created links to explanations of each computer term for students. They also created a personal one, sort of an about me, that I might have students do, so they can incorporate. I did a photo collage of pictures, so they could do that and then use that image in their ThingLink and share a little bit of information about themselves. And Jackie, you had a great idea about using that to distribute a lesson plan. For students for a lesson. I like that idea. So that was a really fun, tool to use. Yeah, I liked it. I see a lot of possibilities.
Anyone else use ThingLink in their classroom? Really popular tool.
I liked that, and I didn't get an opportunity to do this, obviously, but that there is an editing feature, so students could actually collaborate on a ThingLink activity as well. So I'm definitely going to try to incorporate that next year as well.
Take a minute and just explain to the group what this is, because I think most of them don't know, and that is just an amazing tool. I'm so glad you used it. So just give them a little brief. It's a picture with hot spots and.
Sure. Yeah. So you take an image and you upload it into ThingLink, and then you can sort of tag the image with text, and also link if you want to give further. If you want them to explore further information about. In this case, I used a computer term, so a hard drive. They could click on the link at the definition of a hard drive, or other, computer components. I see it as a great tool. I mean, really, in any class, in a history class, you could have landmarks and tag, the landmarks, and with links and text, and students can learn more information about, that country or whatnot. Very easy tool to use. Really cool. Also easy to edit. So once you've even published and shared your final ThingLink image with all these tags, and these tags are just like little circles on the image that you or students would click on to get more information and then get to a link that takes you to a website. But you can go back and edit your already published thing link, and it updates right away. So that was really cool too.
So
I hope that
Debbie has an example on her blog. So if that sounds interesting to you, go check it out. You'll be really impressed with the tool.
Debbie, can you just use one picture at a time? Like you just have one image?
Right, it's one image. Yeah. So, so for the image where I shared information about myself, I actually used a photo collage tool and put a bunch of images in it, and then saved that as one image.
Okay.
One forwarded that into ThingLink, and then I add the tag.
I've seen ThingLink before. I've just never used it. But I also heard someone recently. They were talking about how you could do that with a Google Drawing, and have images in a Google Drawing, and then overlay like a shape, but just make it transparent and make a link to that shape. So kind of the same idea, but you could have separate and different images on the page, and then link each image to different things.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Hadn't heard that one. Who's next? So we're going. Oh, good. Thank you.
I've used several of the 15 tools that you had in your 15 minutes, and I really liked them. But the Picto chart is what I used, and I was introduced to it this year by another teacher, and she was excited, and I loved her pictograph thing. So I did it, and I think what happened with me is I'm still in school here in Massachusetts, and
man, that's terrible.
It's awful. We have 2 days.
Wednesday.
Thursday.
So I have 2 more blog posts to do that I've done. I'm the digital learning specialist. I go in and I help, and I worked with the math specialist to do a math workshop. And I often on my blog posts will do the PicMonkey collage and then link some things. Padlet's a big one that I use. So I thought, you know what? I hadn't made the Pic collage yet, so or the PicMonkey. So I said, I'm going to do the Picto chart. So I went in and I realized quickly that I love it, but my project was too big for the Picto chart. So what I ended up doing, and you'll see it in my blog post, is I took PicMonkey collages and put that as my one picture so I could show everything we did and for that one little brief, and it looked good. But there was an idea, so I don't know about your states, but we have a new evaluation system for educators that we have to provide a ton of evidence for what we do in the classroom. So what one of our teachers did was she did a Picto chart for her evidence. And so she went through, and she's an art teacher, so she submitted links to different activities she did. She's very techno-savvy. And then she put in student projects throughout the pictograph. So I thought that was really cool. So I think that's one way, that's one bit of evidence for a specific topic that I might submit. But I really liked that. And then, so that was, I think that was like the 4th thing that you mentioned in your video. So I stopped and I just did it at that point. And it takes a while. But then I loved the Canva, and that was the last thing. So I was like, I'm going to do that next. So I think I'm just going to be real busy this week doing all of the web tools because they're so exciting.
They really are.
I tried Canva for another class I'm taking with Jackie, and I love it. You seriously could sit there and play with that for hours on end, like creating like posters and flyers and all sorts of different things.
Yeah. Yeah, good one. Okay.
I love PictoChart. I haven't tried Canva, but PictoChart is great for students to use too. I have students use it, and they really like it as well. But I'm going to try Canva this week too.
Yeah, those are both real good ones. Next.
I also use PictoChart in Canva and TAC. So I tried the exact same thing on all 3. And I started with TAC and ended with PictoChart. And I think all 3 have unique kind of positives or traits. Like the Canva I thought was the most beautiful. Like if you were doing something, publishing something that you wanted to look very professional, I thought that one was the best. TAC was very, very simple, not many bells and whistles, and I like that because I can be distracted by all of those fancy fonts and all those pretty images you can throw in there, where TAC was, you would really just have to focus on your content. And PictoChart, one of the things I liked on there was some of their templates. I want to go back. I think one of the things I'd like to do with my class next year is a timeline. And they had a really cool timeline on there, template that you could use. So they all three had were great and easy to embed or print or do a screenshot of. The other thing I played with was the screencasting, which was so much. I was always amazed at how people did that, and it was so easy. I didn't expect it to be that easy.
It is easy.
Yeah.
You get the right tool, one that really resonates with you, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next.
I'll go. I used Haiku Deck.
Oh.
And when I was first reading about it, I thought of this project I had just finished with first grade, and they did a simple research project about butterflies. So actually on my blog, I did one with the butterfly. They very simply, they had butterflies in their classroom, so in the library they were learning about a different kind of butterfly. They worked with a partner, randomly picked the butterfly, and then they had to figure out what kind it was, what the butterfly looked like, and what the caterpillar looked like. So they've done all that on paper for me, and of course right after they did the project I came across this great tool. So next year I surely want to use Haiku Deck to do it, but I also did one that I could use to teach, and I did second grade teaching nonfiction text features. So it was a very simple slide. I had taken pictures of the pages of a nonfiction book called Animal Doctors, and I used the slide to point out each different feature, like the title, the photographs, glossary, index, and it makes a simple slideshow. I used a really easy book to make it easy for the kids to understand, but I think it's a great way to introduce the topic and then move on from there.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Adults, a lot of adults use Haiku Deck, so that's a great one to teach them, or for them to learn.
Do you think, I did see that for the kids it says 12 and up for the images. Do you think that's an issue for first and second grade?
Yes. I think you want to review all those images and see. Okay. Yeah. I haven't looked that deeply into Haiku Deck. I haven't looked at all the images. What I've seen of theirs are fine, but I have been tricked a few times. And parents come and tell me, why did you use that tool? Did you see that picture? So I would say look through them all. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, great.
Next.
I'll go next.
Okay. Go ahead.
I went and I did Teach Your Monster to Read for my web tool. And it's a website, and I would say it's geared more towards kindergarten and first grade, but it would be good for second graders also. I teach second grade. So I have lots of math websites I use and math apps that I use in my classroom. But reading, I'm always trying to find new things because I feel like everything I've used, either the kids don't like or they think it's boring. So I wanted to try to find something new. So I was kind of excited when I saw the web tool on Teach Your Monster to Read. So I set up an account on there, and I just used my son's name as one of my students just to kind of play around. So I created a student account, and I logged in as the student, and there's 3 different levels, which I like, and as a teacher you can pick what reading level that you want your student to be at. So the first level is more like letter sounds, students who are learning their letter sounds still. The second level is blends and things like that, so TH, CH, and then they get into a little bit further, like a couple of letters blended together. And then the last level is actually reading more words. So depending on what level of reading your child's at, you could pick what level you want them to start at, or you could have students work their way through the levels, which would kind of build their confidence and They get this little monster that they can create, and they design him, and they can change him throughout the different levels, and it's kind of like a video game. They do different things on the site and kind of go around, and there's like spaceships and castles and all different things. So I definitely think I'm going to try it in my classroom next year with centers or small group or even just for free time, because I think, you know, I always, with second grade, I have a wide range of reading levels. I have some kids who can read very well, and then I have other kids that come in and they can't read at all, and they're almost below a kindergarten reading level, so it's hard to kind of teach all of them at the same time. So when we do centers, I think something like that would help, because those lower kids can work on their letter sounds or their blends and, you know, reinforce all those basic reading concepts before they get to reading words. And then your kids who can read words, they do have other things. And I actually saw on the website that they had just added there was 3 levels, and the 3rd level they had just added. So maybe down the line they'll add more levels later on for higher level readers too. So I really liked it, so I'm excited to try it next year.
Does anyone use any of those, like Teacher Monster to Read, or there's Raz Kids, or Reading Rainbow, or Snap Learning? Anyone use any of those?
We use Raz Kids.
Which one?
Raz Kids.
And so it's kind of like Teacher Monster to Read, or is it more of just a library?
It's more of a library, different levels, but it's interactive. I mean, it's cute. They like it, and they get their little prize or badge, you know. So they've remained motivated throughout the years. So
good.
That's good. I wrote that down.
Yeah. There's
an app. There's a great app for it, and so that way it's just real easy during center time that they could just grab an iPad and read it.
Is it on Google or is it on the iPad?
It's both. It's online, and
Okay.
you just you set up the class, and they access it from home. It's an at-home resource.
Thanks. I wrote both of those down that you said, Raz Kids and then Reading Rainbow.
Yep.
Okay. Next.
Well, I've given a lot of thought because I have kids for only 9 weeks, and then I have 2 subjects, so I go between 4.5 weeks in one room and 4.5 weeks in another. And you know, so I did use Tagxedo and played with it, and I think that would be a great thing for them to be able to do outside of class and send to me, because to be honest, you know, like in 6th grade, it's hard for me to know every person's name because I see so many kids, and I don't know. I don't always get the connections that I think I should get until they're the next year and I have them again. So I was thinking somewhere along the lines of using it that way, and then they could send, you know, drop it to me or something, and I can read through their words and about them, kind of thing that would be more helpful to me, rather than taking a class time of going around and each person sitting there telling me about themselves. So, so I did like that. We are, as a district, with the other FACS teachers, trying to incorporate more things into our curriculum that would be tech-driven. And I know the middle school director at the administrative level would like us to do more infographics, which is why I did the infographics. So I could start learning how to do those better myself and move that along with those students.
Very good. Okay, next.
I'll go next. I used Prezi. I took a bunch. It's for the first unit in calculus, and we talk about limits, and there's lots of different ways to approach limits depending on what you're starting with. So the kids get a little confused on what to do with each problem. They have to kind of think through it. So I created a Prezi with existing like videos and images that I already had, and put them together to kind of walk the kids through their thought process and how they should think about the problems and where they should start and where should they go from there, what questions they should ask themselves. So it's kind of a guide and hopefully a nice review at the end of the unit for them to study and prepare for the test.
So I thought you did a really good job on that Prezi, Andy. It was. Did that take you a long time to do, or are you familiar with Prezi before?
Yeah, you know, I've been exposed to it before. That's the first one I really kind of got down and dirty with and created myself. I kind of toyed around, and I actually I saw Prezi maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I feel like it's probably changed about 3 or 4 times since I started. So like every time I go back to it, it looks a little different, and they tweaked something and made something different. So I kind of have to relearn every time. But this is the first one that I've really kind of gone all out on instead of just toying around with to see how it worked.
Did you find it easy to learn, intuitive, or?
At first, it was a little not as intuitive as I would have liked, but once I got rolling, it was pretty simple. I think the controls are a little different than I'm used to, but once you get going, it kind of all syncs.
Yeah, good. Okay. Next.
Hi guys, I'll go next. Can you hear me?
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi,
Yeah.
it's actually Jill. I'm very sorry that I'm late.
Oh, sorry about that, Jill. Yes. No worries. That happens. We saw you trying to come in. Would you mind staying after when the group leaves, just so you and I can go over the first question together? I lost her again. Darn. Okay. We'll come back to you, Jill. Okay. I know we haven't gotten a Nate.
Yeah, I kept about being like, oh, I'll go, and then somebody went in front of me. That's okay. I don't mind going last. I was messing around with Khan Academy. I have used Khan Academy a little bit before. It's really cool. There's just tons and tons of videos, basically just having with this guy screencasting his computer and showing videos on how to solve different problems. And there's all kinds of different subjects as well. I didn't really mess around with subjects other than chemistry, but I know on chemistry he just has like a kind of like a paint kind of thing program, and he just solves all kinds of different problems and explains all kinds of different things using this program and screencasting it. So what I did, I posted the Khan Academy chemistry website to my LMS page for Lockport for my school, and what I did last year is I basically just said, hey guys, here's this Khan Academy thing. It shows a bunch of videos, and if you have any questions on anything, you can just search Khan Academy, and it will it'll help you learn how to do things. I think next year I'm going to kind of expand that a little bit and maybe show a few of those videos in class. Possibly do kind of a mini flipped classroom type of thing and say, okay, your homework for tonight is to watch this Khan Academy video, and then tomorrow we're going to do some practice with what the Khan Academy has taught you, kind of thing. But I think it's a really awesome resource. I wish more of my students would use it because it does a great job of teaching a lot of things. Plus, it kind of a lot of times it teaches things a little bit different than how I do, and so that kind of differentiates it a little bit, makes it maybe if they didn't quite understand it when I did it, Khan Academy teaches it a little bit different. So it's oh, now I understand it that way, kind of thing. So it's a really cool resource that I think would really help kids out a lot. And like I said, it's got tons of different subjects on it, so it's not just for science or anything.
Does anyone else use Khan Academy? It's you're right, Nate. It's a really cool tool. And what it does is those videos you'll have them watch to reinforce what you're telling them. It will then, they'll take questions that it'll rank them. It'll tell them where to backfill. So where you're teaching a lesson, the kids will watch that video and then they'll find out where they're having problems, and then they'll go back and watch the videos to help them learn to catch up where you are. So something you would do if you were sitting there one-to-one with the student, but how do you do that? So it does that for them. It's a really nice approach. So I think you'll really like what it does for your class.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think we got everyone, right? Did I miss anyone? Except Jill. Okay, so we'll go on to 3. I'm interested in technology and Common Core, because Common Core doesn't lay out technology guidelines, but it constantly, I think 38 or 54, I forget what I counted, but tons of standards refer to you'd have to use technology to accomplish the standard. Publish, share, collaborate. It's hard to do that kind of stuff without technology. And it says use technology to yada yada. So I'm curious on your take on how technology has or how Common Core has changed your classroom or your school's approach to using technology, or maybe it hasn't.
I can go first. For me, it hasn't. As a technology teacher, I've always, one of the premises of one of the classes I teach to freshmen is how they can use this technology and what tools are available that they can use and apply in other classes.
Okay.
So it hasn't really changed what I do. Really, yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Well, and I'm going to piggyback on that too. It really hasn't changed what I do, but it does give me a chance to go back and talk to math teachers about about applying what they know, because teaching and then applying a lot of times has been really difficult for students, especially when we're doing fractions and measurement in the sewing room. And I know they know how to read a ruler, so but otherwise, just me going back and talking with the other teachers about what I see and do they see the same things for applying knowledge.
So the focus that the Common Core places on use technology to do this, but maybe in sewing, and maybe that doesn't, it's not even under Common Core.
Right.
So that probably, I can see how that would be for you.
Right.
Who was our 4th grade teacher?
Me.
See, for you, Common Core in 4th grade says type 2 pages at a sitting. How does your school address that?
They've just started, I think it was about a year ago, they purchased Typing Agent, and so that's accessible to every student. They also, digital citizenship, they started requiring a certain, I think it's 1 lesson per trimester for starting K-8 through 8. The testing for sure starts in 3rd grade, and that has changed a lot because we are, you're not supposed to be teaching to the test, but there's no way you can expect teachers to sit in front of that test, kids to sit in front of that test without having exposed them to any technology before that, and the typing alone, knowing how to use a keyboard. They don't have, we didn't have enough devices for me to really hit keyboarding very hard last year. I hope next year, I just found out that I'll have a set of Chromebooks that I'll just share with one other classroom. So I'm hoping I can really address that next year, because even if there wasn't Common Core, what a life skill that I feel like I'm giving students. And so if I can do that alone, I will be so happy with myself. But I think the testing pushes a lot of what we do and how we do it, because the open-ended questions that they have to respond to, and yeah, it's typed, but there's just so much that, and a lot of times, is it the cart leading the horse, or there's a lot of tricky parts to it, and I overall, I think Common Core has a lot of great things. One of my criticisms or frustrations is, I remember when we were talking about Common Core and before it came, it was supposed to be, instead of not quite so much where we can go more in depth. That I have not found to be true. I feel like it's the same amount of standards, and that's where I get frustrated. I want to go in depth, but it's also hurry, hurry, hurry so that you can hit everything, and not having enough devices. But I think the devices will come. Yeah. It's just a work in progress. And for me, having the time to become knowledgeable enough in the device and all that it empowers kids to do.
That'll come yet.
Yeah.
Good. Any other thoughts?
I was going to say, okay, go ahead.
I think in my district, it's just the idea of the technology becoming available. All of a sudden, we're seeing the carts of Chromebooks coming, the iPads coming. We've had K1 and 2 doing math and reading assessments online, and 2nd grade starting next year is going to be having keyboarding as a special. I don't know how that's going to work, but I think it's definitely affected our program as a district.
When I work with teachers to integrate technology, we actually go beyond the Common Core and we read the college readiness skills, because that's where a lot of that tech piece comes in and turning it into a digital learning project. The other thing is we we don't have a lot of the equipment, but we do use Skype, and we bring in more authentic learning, real world learning, and that ties really into the Common Core. And not just memorizing the facts, but really real world, being able to share it across the globe, trot across the globe. I do want to say with the typing piece, we have a computer class where they do keyboarding skills, but we actually had it in our report cards right when Common Core came out. We mass adopted it. Um, they had it as a standard on our report cards, the typing 2 pages, 3 pages, but they didn't, because teachers, of course, don't help develop the report card. It's all the administrators. But they never figured out how to. I mean, yes, the tech teacher is supposed to grade that, I guess, but we're a tri-town with 3 schools, and we're the only school with a tech teacher. So nobody knew how to assess the 2 or 3 pages because we didn't have enough equipment or whatever. So they decided, well, we'll just take it out of the report card, and now they don't even worry about it anymore. I don't know. It's quite funny. I mean,
yeah, it is.
But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. But I did find a website, and I'm trying to figure out on our wiki how to share the website, because I was Googling the question just to really get kind of a, because my standards in our state for technology is 2005, and we just did a scope and sequence, but it's ridiculous. I mean, it's only 3 major standards, and one is build a PowerPoint slide. So we're trying to really figure out how we can kind of branch off of what else could a slide be. But California, there's a website from a California school system that actually has Common Core in it, and it breaks it down on mastery, like when they should, the beginning level to the mastery level, and it's all these different skills. I love the website, so I'm going to try to share it somehow. I maybe just put it on my blog with all my tech tools that I've been working on, but it's a great website, and it's a scope and sequence for the school system with Common Core tech standards.
I think I've seen that one. Why don't you put it under the discussion?
Okay.
Put a Common Core in technology or California school.
Okay.
So we'll remember. And it won't let you link per se, but you can paste the link in there, and then we all can copy that and paste it.
I'll do that.
It's the one I'm thinking of. It is an excellent site.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to take that and do some stuff with it.
Yeah.
I was going to go off of what Melissa said, since she teaches 4th grade. And we had talked about Common Core and how they're expected by 4th grade to type 2 pages. So I'm not sure what schools that have all done, but this year I teach 2nd, and they actually this year had our students take a practice PARCC. So when the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade were taking the PARCC test, the 2nd graders had to go down and take a practice PARCC test, and it was kind of thrown at us on like a Thursday, and then we had to go in Friday morning, so we weren't really prepared for it. We have one-to-one tablets, and we've had them for a few years now, so that really hasn't changed with Common Core, but now that the students have that typing piece integrated, we're struggling because our tablets don't have keyboards. It's just a regular tablet. So the 5th grade teachers actually have netbooks that they use. So when it was time for PARCC testing, they actually had to give up their netbooks so that the 3rd graders and 4th graders and the 5th graders could take the PARCC test. And then we also just adopted Type for Learn, I believe it's called. So at the beginning of last school year, the students were all sent home with passcodes to use for Type to Learn, and the teachers were never really told about it or talked about it. So we, as the teachers, assumed that they were going to be doing that in computer lab or practicing at home. And then towards the end of the school year, we found out we were supposed to be using it in our classroom, but it kind of got brought up because I only have 3 computers in my classroom, and they can't use Type for Learn on the tablets because they don't have a keyboard. So It's going to be a lot of juggling next school year to see how they want us to incorporate this keyboarding element, and are they going to do it in the computer lab, or is everybody going to get netbooks or Chromebooks or something? So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I know they're trying to adapt and get those kids ready, especially with the keyboarding element. So it should be interesting to see how it changes.
Melanie, our PTO bought us keyboards for the iPads, and at the end of the year, like right now, they've got $2,000 extra dollars. Who has that? But so they're for STEM, they just said the buzzwords for them is STEM, so they're throwing that on me. But our PTO was willing to buy keyboards, and they fundraised for that, and the parents were all about it because they're preparing for, park and for being able to type. So the parents wanted it to be done in school, really is the truth of the matter, so instead of home. So they purchased keyboards at least for one set, and then it built, throughout. So it might be just, you never know.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I know a big problem, I'm sure, like they sent the passwords home, and I don't even know how many kids logged on, because I think even at home, a lot of kids don't have keyboards at home. They don't have a traditional desktop computer or a Chromebook or anything like that. I think a lot of kids just have iPhones and iPads and things like that. They don't, they don't have that at home. So I don't think a lot of them were even using it or practicing. So that's a good idea. Thank you.
Well, with calculus, I'm kind of out of the Common Core. I deal with the College Board, so I haven't had too much experience with Common Core. I think it goes up to Algebra 2, like Advanced Algebra. But I haven't really heard much about technology with it as far as the high school math component. So I don't know, Nate, do you know anything with like science in high school? Do they have much with technology?
Not a ton. I was actually going to say, like, everybody's been talking about keyboarding, and we've done literally zero with keyboarding at all. Like, that's not a focus for us at all. Something that Jackie was saying earlier about, like, the collaboration and everything with Common Core, that's been a big thing with us because we're, like, all about Google. We have Chromebooks, and we do a lot of stuff with Google Docs. And that's really helped me a lot because, like, anytime I've had lab reports in the past, they've had to either do them in class, so I've had to give them class time, or they've had to do them at home, which is they either have to get together or they have to do separate parts. And then when you have something like that, you have a lab report that's really kind of like just not very clean and elegant kind of thing. It's very chunky. But now that we have these Chromebooks and we have Google Docs and Google Sheets and all that good stuff, they can all work on one lab report at the same time, and they don't have to be in the same room. And that's really, really helped a lot with collaboration time. So I, usually if I have them do a lab report, I'll give them maybe 20 minutes or half an hour in class to like figure out the outline of it, and then the rest of it is on them. And they have Google Docs and they all have Chromebooks, so they can just make a Google Doc and share it with the rest of the group, and they can all work on it at the same time, which is really awesome because they, it's just so much easier to collaborate like that. So that's really helped a lot as far as collaboration and Common Core and technology.
Yeah, I think you're doing it organically, Nate. You're accomplishing Common Core's requirement to publish, share, collaborate with or using technology for, and you're just doing it. So I love it. That's exactly what we look for, what Common Core would look for. So I can see why you don't notice it because it's just what you do.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Or did we get to everyone? I think we'll skip the last couple questions because I want you guys to go enjoy the rest of your Father's Day. So thank you for joining me on Father's Day. This was really interesting. I enjoyed all of your comments and your feedback. One thing I will say about the self-assessment that Nate brought up, if you fill something in and I go in and change it, then that would be your clue that I didn't agree with what you wrote. I have not done that anywhere yet, so don't worry about going back and trying to compare because I haven't made anyone's yet. So far, I completely agree with what you're saying you've accomplished.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Great.
you.
Final thoughts before we leave?
Yep.
That was good.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.